Kamen Rider Gates episode 49, the series finale of this Rider series. And it's crazy to say that we're at the end of this series, because it only seems like yesterday when we all watched episode 1, we all gathered around online to watch episode 1 and gave our thoughts on the Twitters and on the social medias. And now we're at the end game. We're at the end, which is crazy to think about, because next week, Gotchard will be starting up. But let's talk about Kamen Rider Gates episode 49, because there's a lot to talk about with this episode and a lot to go over. So let's go over the recap, review, rumblings of the finale of Kamen Rider Gates. So episode 49 of Kamen Rider Gates is called Daybreak 1. Here comes the highlight. So learning that this episode was going to be called Daybreak 1 because the first episode is called Daybreak Finale, a lot of people were worried that Kamen Rider Gates would go into this sort of like endless loop of like the game never ending and the DGP always starting up. But that wasn't the case in this episode, as the episode opens up where last week's episode ended, where Sumori shot Gates in the face point blank. And then we get a bit of a time skip where everyone had lived their normal lives. And this is where I thought the fake out was, where we were just repeating our lives over and over again with these characters as things had gone back to when episode 1 started. But that didn't seem to be the case, as we then get a scene of Jin walking up to a shrine to pay his respects to Ace, as we see the Boost Mark 9 buckle turn to stone. And then after that, we then cut back into the past where Sumori retells the events with everything that happened. So this is where we jump to the past and we learn what happened after Ace was shot. So after Ace was shot, he's dead, he's gone, oh so it seems. Then you have the plot twist of the Sumoris merging into one. Well, they merged into one, but then they sort of split apart from each other, and apparently the black Sumori was controlling like the good Sumori, it seemed like, or they had become one again for that short merger. They don't really explain it properly in this episode. I feel like that's the one thing I feel like maybe should have got an explanation of how the two were meant to merge, but they are two of the same coin. They are sort of the same, so they should be able to merge, or they are able to merge. They don't really explain it. I don't want to dive too deep into it. So Soul decides to go pick up the pieces and clean up the noise that Ace left behind, or so he says. So in this episode, you have Soul having a showdown between the 3 remaining riders, being Neon, Buffer, and Tycoon, and they're unable to defeat him because he's God mode, he's too powerful, and he's able to rewind time and take away their henshin devices, their belts, so they're seemingly powerless. But suddenly, out of nowhere, Ace comes in, and you soon find out that when Sumori was able to kill him, he would get reincarnated as a deity. But this was part of Ace's plan when he met his mother from all those episodes ago. So this, once again, was part of Ace's big brain plan of something that he planned ages ahead. Typical Ace stuff, but what we get next is a quick showdown with Ace coming in on the bike, which was nice to see because you don't see riders on their bike a lot when it comes to Kamen Rider due to Japanese street laws, but they film it in a warehouse, so it's good to go with this episode, and we get to see it one last time. So in this episode, you have Ace and Soul having a little bit of a face-off, but then you have Ace giving the powers back to his rider comrades, and this is the part of the episode that I appreciated, where you got to see all the other 3 riders giving the smackdown on Soul in this episode, where everyone got involved, because I was worried when Ace would come in that he would hog all the glory and he'd get like the final showdown in this episode, where he'd be the one who would come in, deliver the finishing blow in this episode, and Ace would be the one to save the day. But no, everyone gets to put the smackdown on Soul in this episode, which was great to see, because you got to see all the dual changes in this episode. They all use their first forms. You get to see Beat, Ninja, and Zombie in this episode, which was great to see, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed seeing that in this episode, where everyone got to lay the smackdown on Sewell in this episode before Ace landed the finishing blow, or have his little punch up and then deliver into a rider kick with Sewell to deliver the finishing blow. So that was great to see in this episode. So Ace is able to defeat Sewell, and this is where I got tripped up a little bit, because like there's this scene where Sewell's mask comes off and you see Ace's face as he removes the hood, and I was thinking, oh shit, is this like their big twist, like Sewell was like a future Ace the whole time? But that wasn't the case. He just stole his drip, he just stole his outfit, because he's now rewriting the world once again, where a world where everyone can be happy. So the management of the Desire Grand Prix go away and everyone gets Thanos snapped away. So that's good to know. You get to see that bitch with a gun freak out, which I didn't really care for her because I forgot her existence half the time. She freaks out, but then Giori says, hey, the world is going to rely on the future of our denizens. So he has that speech or moment that he gives right there, which I feel like Giori looks a lot younger when we see him now. I don't know if it's because he's got his hair slicked back, but he looks like less old from like what we've seen him. But then again, it was like 30 plus episodes since when we last saw him. But Ace is creating a new world, a world where happiness is no longer limited nor ratioed out. Happiness is what you can make of and if you go for it. So he's basically getting rid of like the whole happiness of the Desire Grand Prix where it was limited. So happiness is what you can make of it, and if you can go for your goals and be happy. I probably butchered that speech, but hey, he's sort of explaining it like that. So after the world is reset, we then jump back to modern times. Like I said, we've got Jin visiting the shrine, Sumori's there too, but then Jin says that, hey, there's another Desire Grand Prix starting up, but it's not going to be dirty like last time. Would you like to be the navigator again? And Sumori, of course, agrees. But then you have this nice little moment where, towards the end of the episode, we get this montage where she looks at the shrine and everyone's sort of dreams and goals are written down there. And we have a montage with all the characters that well, not all the characters, the main characters we've met throughout the show. And we learn about their dreams and desires. And it's a nice little moment as they live their life very happily with what Ace was able to accomplish. So it's a nice little moment. And I will say this, hearing that song that they played during the montage changed my future, as you saw everyone's dreams and ambitions being listed off, and you see them sort of having this nice little moment as they're living their peaceful, happy lives. That got me teary-eyed. That got me really teary-eyed, I will say that, because it's sad to see these guys go, but that song just hit really hard near the end of the episode. Like, that got me. So the last few seconds of the episode is you have Ace, he's walking through sort of like the sort of water side of Tokyo, and you see someone run by, and this is what sort of tripped me up a little bit. I was like, oh, who's this new character? We haven't seen him in the show yet. And then it's the tease of the next character, Gotchard, as he's chasing the Hopper card, and Ace looks at him, he smiles. I thought they'd sort of do the cliche where they bump into him, but hey, he's just chasing the card where he's probably late to school, so he's got to run after him. So there's that nice little moment. And then Ace turns around and smiles, and then you have this text at the end saying, Ace with us. So that's Kamen Rider Geats in a nutshell, or Kamen Rider Geats episode 49 in a nutshell. This episode was great. I feel like this show managed to stick the landing, and I got a really satisfied ending with this show. Although the adventure of Geats and friends isn't over, because they announced a V-Cinema last night that will be dropping sometime next year, and there's probably going to be a winter movie as well. The journey of Geats and that isn't over just yet, but from what we got with the show, the 49 episode run, I enjoyed it. It had its ups, it had its downs, but in the end, I feel like I'm going to miss these characters after I've been watching them week after week, and we're not going to see them for like a while, and it's kind of sad to talk about because, like, I reviewed the show weekly, I talked about the show weekly, and I've become attached to these characters, and it's sad to see them go. But Kamen Rider Geats, overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. Like I said, had some bumpy bits in it halfway through, but hey, I recommend watching Kamen Rider Gates, and if you're brand new to this channel, I highly recommend checking out the playlist and watching all my reviews for Kamen Rider Gates. But next week, we'll be jumping into episode 1 of Kamen Rider Gotchard. So, I hope to see you there, and thank you for watching this video, and until the next time, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!